This is Sadlier Level D, Unit 2B Vocabulary. So our first word for this unit is adjourn, and it is a verb that means to stop proceedings temporarily or move to another place. Your synonyms are postpone and discontinue. Your antonyms are open and call to order. You have your other verb forms of the word, adjourned, adjourning, and adjourns. And you have a noun form with that M-E-N-T ending, adjournment. We've got a little comic strip there. I assume it's from the New Yorker. And it's a bunch of dogs at a meeting saying, then the meeting was adjourned because a squirrel ran past the window, meaning they had to stop the meeting. Because if you know anything about dogs, they really like squirrels. And then my sentence uses the second part of the definition for adjourn. Now that we've finished with preparing the food, we should adjourn to the dining room for dinner. So meaning to move to another place. And you can think of those two definitions as going together because if you're going to move to another place, you usually are stopping what you're doing in one place and then going to the other location or whatever is happening. This is also a word you hear fairly often when you're talking about court proceedings. They'll often say that we're going to adjourn for the day, meaning they're going to stop and then come back for more of the trial on the next day. So that's adjourn. Then we move into compensate. And my face is blocking a little of the picture, but I think you can still make out what's going on there. Compensate is a verb that means to make up for or to repay for services. So compensate can deal specifically with money. So you can compensate someone for the cost of something. Maybe they bought you something and you need to Venmo them or Cash App them some money. But you can also have the definition to make up for, and that's my sentence that I wrote uses it in that way. Your synonyms are pay back or recompense, and your antonyms are fail to reward or stiff. And I put a little note there for you. Stiff meaning you don't pay someone. You stiff them on the bill using the verb form, not the adjective form, like something is stiff. Your other forms are your other verb forms, compensated, compensating, compensates. You've got the adjective form, compensative. You have the noun form with the OR ending, compensator. That would be the person who is doing the compensating. And then compensatory, which I always mess up saying, so that's why I said it's so weird, which is the adjective form. You don't hear that quite as often. So in the picture right next to my face, you can see that the man is being given money. He is being compensated for something, maybe his work, maybe something else that's going on. But my sentence uses the make up for definition. So her participation in class and consistent effort on her work compensated for her lack of skills in math class, earning her a B at the end of the semester. So because she's bad at math, she compensates by participating, always doing her homework, studying as much as she can so that she can still end up with a good grade at the end of the semester. So it's not always money. Then we get to dissolute, which is an adjective. This is a fun one. It means loose in one's morals or behavior. If you take a look at that picture, this is obviously an older painting. So their version of dissolute might be different than ours, but people are drinking, they're gambling, there's dogs eating things off the floor, they're playing music, it's probably scandalous music. All of their behaviors are considered very, very dissolute. Your synonyms are dissipated, debauched, immoral, and corrupt. You might recognize the word debauchery, which is the noun form of debauched. Your antonyms are chaste, moral, seemly, and proper. You have an adverb form, dissolutely, and your noun form, dissoluteness. We've got the N-E-S-S noun ending and the L-Y adverb ending. And then my sentence, although he had been a dissolute troublemaker in his youth, he's grown into a responsible member of the community. So he maybe was a little bit iffy, but now he's gotten it together and he is not so inappropriate in his behaviors. And then we get to expulsion. This is a word you might be familiar with already, and hopefully not for bad reasons. Expulsion is a noun. It has that S-I-O-N ending you see on some nouns, and it means the process of driving or forcing out. So it's similar to the idea of expel. If somebody gets expelled from school, that could be called an expulsion. Your synonyms are ejection, removal, and eviction. Your antonyms, admittance and admission. So the difference between sending someone out versus bringing someone in. Expulsive is your adjective form. You can see that he's getting kicked out in that picture. And my sentence, which is also true, being caught vaping at school can lead to punishments, including expulsion from school, leaving your friends behind. I mixed up my two words there. Sorry about that. Then we get to feint. So this is similar sounding to faint, like when you faint and fall over, but it's a different word. It's spelled differently. It's both a noun and a verb, so it's one of those double part of speech words. The noun form is a deliberately deceptive movement or a pretense, essentially you faking something. You can, use a feint to trick someone, maybe during a sports event. It sounds so, a basketball game. There we go. Your verb form is to make a deceptive movement or to make a pretense of. So you can also use it as an action. Your synonyms are trick, ruse, subterfuge, and bluff, and there are no antonyms. And your other forms are only your other verb forms: fainted, fainting, and feints. So we've got another little comic up there. It says, the caption, if you can't read it, says shark subterfuge. So essentially they are deceiving the people who are swimming because she says, oh, hi, you startled me. She thinks it's a person, but really it's a shark. So instead of the shark fin coming out of the water, it's a human person. So she doesn't know it's a shark. She is being tricked. He is using a feint to trick this woman. And my sentence, the teenager's feint involved pretending to have a fever so he wouldn't have to go to school and take his vocabulary test, which none of you would ever do. Then we get to illegible, which is an adjective and another word you might be familiar with. Illegible simply means difficult or impossible to read. Some of the papers that are turned into me might be described as illegible, like that picture, which is someone's handwriting. I don't know what it says. I can see some words in there, but it is mostly illegible. Your synonyms are unreadable or scribbled. Your antonyms are readable, distinct, and clear. You have your noun form, illegibility, and your adverb form, illegibly. So the way you write, you could say, oh, I wrote that illegibly. Your sentence, the effects of pollution have rendered the inscriptions on many old gravestones illegible. If you've ever gone to an old cemetery, sometimes it's hard to make out what was etched or written on those tombs. They're kind of illegible at this point. Then we get to lucrative. This might be another word you're familiar with. It's an adjective and it means bringing in money or profitable. Your synonyms are gainful or money-making. Your antonyms are unprofitable, losing, or in the red. And if you know anything about, keeping books, in the red means you have negative money in your account. Your other forms, your adverb form, lucratively, the noun form, lucrativeness. You'll notice the ly and ness word endings. And our sentence, it's great if you are able to turn a favorite hobby or activity into a highly lucrative business that brings in more than enough to pay your bills. Be careful with lucrative and compensate. Compensate has to do with being almost repaid for something or making up for something. Lucrative just means that it is profitable. You are making money off of whatever this is. There's no response to it. There's no give and take. No one owes you anything when we're dealing with lucrative. Then we get to proliferate, which is a verb, and it means to reproduce, increase, or spread rapidly. Your synonyms are multiply, mushroom, and burgeon. Your antonyms are decrease, diminish, dwindle, and slack off. You have other forms, other verb forms: proliferates, proliferating, and proliferated. Proliferation is your noun form, and proliferative is your adjective form. So I have that picture there of the graph. Clearly, whatever is happening in that graph, it is increasing pretty rapidly. We see the arrow going upward. This can be something that is more figurative, maybe abstract, or it can be something that is literal, like bunny rabbits and hamsters often proliferate quickly if you're not careful about putting them in a cage together. But we also have our sentence here. Even though it wasn't true, the rumor of Miss Convoy having a mullet was so exciting that it proliferated through the school before the end of first block. It spread rapidly throughout the school very, very quickly. Then we get to sully. This is a very fun word. It is a verb that means to soil, stain, tarnish, defile, or besmirch. I love the word besmirch. Your synonyms are pollute, taint, and smear. Your antonyms are cleanse, purify, and decontaminate. And your other forms are just your other verb forms: sullied, sullying, and sullies. You can have something that is literally sullied, meaning it is now dirty, or it can be more figurative. Someone can sully your reputation. They can besmirch your reputation by saying things about you that aren't true necessarily. So that man in the picture is very angry. He is claiming slander, meaning someone said something about him that is not true, and it is now ruining his reputation. It is soiling his reputation. It is sullying his reputation. So the Nixon era Watergate scandal sullied the image of politicians in the minds of many voters as liars and cheats. If you don't know anything about the Watergate scandal, it was not a great time in history for politics. It's kind of dirty politics. And it really did change the way people thought about it. And then we get the word unflinching, which is an adjective. You might recognize that root word in there, flinch, like you kind of jump or you move. When I watch scary movies, I flinch like crazy. So unflinching is the opposite of that. It means firm, showing no signs of fear, and not drawing back. So someone who doesn't flinch at things would be described as unflinching. Your synonyms are resolute, steadfast, and unwavering. Your antonyms are irresolute, wavering, and vacillating, meaning you're not really steady in anything. And your other forms are just unflinchingly, your adverb form with the ly ending. And again, my face is covering a little bit of that picture, but that is from a video you can find online if you're so inclined, about how cool guys don't look at explosions. They ignore them in movies because they are unflinching, even when there's a bomb going off behind them and fire and flames and noises and rubble. We've all seen the movies where there's an unflinching character who just doesn't even look back. They throw the match and it blows up and they just keep on walking. My sentence: everyone admires the unflinching courage with which firefighters and other rescue workers carry out their dangerous jobs to help everyone. Be careful with unflinching. It is an adjective. It's a describing word. It's not a verb. It's not an action, even though the root of it is flinch. Unflinching is how you would describe someone who is firm or shows no signs of fears or doesn't draw back. So that is the end of our 2B Level D Sadlier vocab unit.